down.
That's your way of telling me don't interrupt our show.
No, it's more let's not waste it. Like we're
Yeah,
here.
don't waste it
do
on.
a pregame show. We have
We
things
are here.
to talk about.
Hello, everybody.
This is gold, but let's not waste it when we have things. When we're in the summer, when there's not anything to talk
or
about.
Four Nations.
That's when we talk. No, not Four Nations. We can talk about. There's plenty of stuff for 2 weeks of hockey.
I hate when we argue.
Sam is already wrong, and he called us old. Like, you want to get off on my bad side already. He looked at me and said, well, mid-40s, that's old. And then Luddy walked in. What do you think that you're saying to him?
He's mid-40s, too.
I'll take either one of you on.
I know. Even both. It
Both
still
at the same
wouldn't
time
You
if
can
you'd
find
like.
me.
Commando.
work. The only thing I got going for me is he couldn't catch me.
If you're on that scooter, I can catch you.
It's the pregame show right now on DLLS.
Get it ready, boys. Get it ready, boys. Get it ready, boys.
Well, it's going to be one of those tonight, folks, as it's DLS Dallas Stars pregame show.
Get it ready, boys.
They're working now. Owen Newkirk, Craig Ludwig, Sam Nestler, John Anderson is our producer as we get you ready for the second night of a back-to-back. Stars playing in St. Louis tonight against the Blues. Last night, Dallas won their 30th game of the season in their 48th game of the season. And it moved them ahead for not the first time in the last week, but the second time, ahead of the Minnesota Wild into second place in the Central Division. Now, look, there's a lot of games to go, as I mentioned. 48 games down out of 82. Quick simple math, Sam?
The remaining.
34.
34, Luds. He's the one that went to class, that's for sure.
University of North Dakota.
Well, Luddy, on that note, check out the standings. Tell me what you think and when you or what your first initial reaction is when you see
I
where
don't
the
know. They're
Stars are.
blurry and they're tiny. That's my first initial reactions.
You want me to read them to you?
No. What do you want to know?
Just look at the logos.
First impression about where the
That
Stars
we're
are
climbing
at.
the ladder? We're climbing the ladder. That's what we're doing. The Stars, well, we're not. Dallas Stars are. They're climbing a ladder. And they got a couple games in hand here and there. And big move in Colorado. We'll see if that I don't think it's going to catapult them forward, in my opinion.
They're not,
and I think we got a
done.
couple of games in hand. I'm not even looking at it, but I'm pretty sure we got a couple games in hand on Winnipeg, and we're probably 8 points behind, which means that we win a couple games and we're going to be 4 points behind our games in hand.
Yep.
Am I right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not even looking
And a
at
game
the
in hand
damn
on
thing.
Colorado
It's
as well.
all up here.
You're a savant.
4 a.m., man.
I love it.
4 a.m. looking at the numbers.
Because you can't sleep. You might as well read
I
the
know.
stats. What about the rest of it real quick? As we look at this other, we'll get into the Stars and the Blues, of course, in depth. Look at St. Louis, by the way. They're 50 points. They're only 3 back of a playoff spot with 49 games played. That means they have 33 to go. There's still something there, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But there seems to me, when my first look at this standings group, I see a gap, and it's between Colorado and Calgary. And so the 6 teams on your left of the screen, for those, nobody's listening because we don't post this on the audio like we do post-game show. So for those of you watching, I think those 7 teams, the 6 on your left plus Colorado, are in a gap above the teams below.
I didn't know that.
That's my feeling.
We didn't post
I
the
feel
audio.
like-
Yeah, I didn't know we posted. We didn't do the pregame show.
Yeah, no.
Pre-game
It's
show is
only
on
live.
the audio stuff.
See, you learn.
Yep.
This is why you tune into us.
But Luds, you look
Learn
at the,
something new
Took
every
him
day.
34 minus 82 minus 34 games to figure that out.
My whole point of this is if you look at the wild card standings, you look at Calgary, Vancouver, who it was very hard to get a read on what the heck they are, St. Louis,
Dumpster fire.
and Utah. I think those are the teams that legit could make the second wild card in the West. And who knows what will happen from there. But Dallas is where they want to be right now. Remember, it wasn't that long ago they were down in that wild card, or was there a night where they were just out of it?
Yep.
But they had tons of games in hand. This is where they want to be. Now, would they like to be in first place? Yes. But they want to be in this fray and they're 11 points out of, or well, I guess, yeah, because it'd be Vancouver. They're 11 points away from being out of the playoffs.
I talked to Casey DeSmith for a little while about this whole approach, and he said, we never look to lose games or anything like that, but we are well aware that we just need to get to a second or a third spot. We don't need to win the division again and get Vegas or right now Colorado potentially in the first round. So it's good for Dallas. I think we expected it, but it's just anytime they're sitting in that 2-3 spot, it feels very safe, and that gives you a little wiggle room where maybe they have a flu go through the team like they did, or they have a trade that needs some guys to take some time to adjust. It's a good thing for them to have that little bit of wiggle room, and there's no easy matchup right now. But if you're going to have one, it's probably the Calgarys or the Vancouvers or the other teams that you mentioned that might make that second or first wild card.
I think where they're at right now is the perfect spot. That's what I think. And Winnipeg has been a good team all year long. They've got a history of not doing too well in the playoffs, and that doesn't mean much, but if you can avoid them, if there was a way to avoid them, and keys start with home ice, and if you catch Minnesota or whoever, in that run, we know that we've got a good, to me, that's the spot that you'd like to be in. It's not like they're going to take their feet off the gas or anything like that. But I think that because of how good Connor Hellebuck has been this year, he may be that guy that even if Winnipeg, goes back to their old form and habits in the playoffs, that could actually get him through a round or two. Just being sheer Hellebuck.
He could literally Conn Smythe his way through.
For sure. That's what right now for me, he's a Hart candidate, which, and again, that's a long way off, and a lot of time goaltenders don't win that award, but he's been that good for that team, and they've been hovering around that same spot all year long.
John, flash the standings on one more time, if you would, please. And Luddy, it's exactly that argument why I was pushing so hard last week when we were talking about our midseason awards check-in for Dustin Wolf to win the Calder, because the Calgary Flames really have no business being where they're at based on the expectations. We all predicted that they wouldn't be anywhere close, and they're in a rebuild mode. If they have a rookie goalie carry them to a playoff spot, I think as long as his numbers stay where they're at now and he continues to play the ways, and they make the playoffs, even if they're one and done to Winnipeg, that to me is a Calder-worthy performance, just like Hellebuck deserves to be in the conversation for the Hart, because I think Dustin Wolf is as important to Calgary as Hellebuck is to Winnipeg. Different scales, because let's face it, Hellebuck's on a different wavelength right now, but just as important to his team.
What if Montreal makes the playoffs? Does that make the same
Hudson's
thing for
really
Hudson? I'm just curious
player.
if that's the same type of thing. That's not a goalie.
I don't think Lane Hudson is as important to the Montreal Canadiens as Dustin Wolf is to the Calgary Flames, and that's nothing against Hudson. Hudson is a huge offensive presence, and he moves the puck well, and I think he's a great player. But Montreal can win games even if Hudson has an off night.
Right.
Your goalie starts playing poorly, we know what happens. It goes down in a hurry.
I'm looking to the Dallas Stars winning tonight 4-2 over the St. Louis Blues.
We should mention the Stars at least a little bit.
Well, let's get into it. So Casey DeSmith will start in goal tonight. It's confirmed from the St. Louis media that he's on the ice for the warm-up, or led them on the ice. And that's the only lineup change that we're expected. Mike Heika just sent out the warm-up line. So, John, if you would flash the Stars lines up there. No changes, which is surprising. They have Lundqvist, who is a scratch. We were told healthy scratch. I think he's healthy. And then Matej Blumel. Luddy, your first thoughts of Brendan Smith playing forward last night? What did you like? Anything you didn't like?
I liked everything what he did. That's why Sam was talking before you got in here. Well, actually, you were here way before us, and then you went shopping or something like that.
I had to go get food.
I said that it doesn't surprise me that they changed it, and I liked the way Brendan Smith played there. And I told you why last night. I think from his standpoint, he can play straight ahead. There's less pressure. He doesn't have the same kind of foot speed. Defensively, going backwards to match up against some guys, from other clubs that can fly around. And again, just when you're in that role and you're on a third, fourth line especially, you bump into people, go to the front of the net, put pucks in deep, throw it to the net. Versus get back, reverse it, jump on the puck, pick that guy up, play man on man, try to follow somebody that I can't keep up with that's 15 years younger than me. So it's just I think there's less pressure on him to play that way. And you're going to like what he does, because you don't really have another forward on the front end that the top two lines, you don't expect that. But you don't have the guy out there that's going to run around. And Dallas is not a very physical team. And so if you can add that element. And again, he's not, I say it, he's not Tom Wilson of the NHL, but he's not afraid to take anybody on, and you add a little bit of punchback and pushback.
Sam, you mentioned this on your post-game hit with us about what Pete DeBoer's impression was of that line and the immediate identity that they unveiled and stuck with.
Yeah, he said he used that where he said they found an identity and they stuck with it throughout the game, and it's what they've wanted from that fourth line. The be hard to play against is number one. That's what you want of a fourth line. It's what you want of a third line, is to be hard to play against no matter who you're matched up with, and it allowed them to put them against pretty much anyone last night and match the lines where they needed to. But if they got stuck out there with Eichel and against that line, they weren't worried about it because they play solid. All three guys play the game the right way. Smith looked like he fit in perfectly there. I was only a little bit surprised because you got some older guys, right? You got Colin Blackwell and Brendan Smith on that line. If Matej Blumel is healthy, that one surprised me a little bit. The only other thing I thought with Lundqvist, it's a little bit odd, is he skated late yesterday, but when Marchment and Blumel did their full heavy sprints at the end, Lundqvist was told to stop. No, not going to try to dig too much into that right now, but I'm wondering if he was one of those game time decisions that Pete talked about potentially, or if Blumel is. It's a little bit unknown, but it's a little odd to me that they wouldn't make a change on a back-to-back against two heavy teams.
If you guys were going to look at the St. Louis team lineup, whatever you want, who would you say is the head of the snake on that team for them?
Right now?
And really, honestly, nobody really jumps out, but I mean,
offensively, it's probably Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah, but he's not the guy that leads them.
But is he the leader of the team?
Who carries the flag into the war? I think it's Braden Shen.
Yeah, probably.
Because he'll drop the gloves. He'll fight.
The only other one I would think of is maybe Colton Parayko.
But he's never been that guy.
And remember when the Stars played St. Louis last time in December, we got that great moment because of the being mic'd up where was it Bischel that knocked Shen right into the Stars bench into the lap of Jamie Benn, and he started. Shen was giggling. Jamie goes, "Oh, I'll help you up." You could tell there was a lot of mutual respect there.
Well, and the only reason I bring that up is because when you mentioned Kyrou, that's their top line, right? Holloway, Kyrou, and Shen. They get last change tonight. Now you got Brendan Smith down on the fourth line. Maybe you get under the skin a little bit of Shen, because if you're going to take somebody off the ice, go with him.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I have no idea if that's their line of thinking, keeping Brendan playing up front, but now, that could be part of it, because again, when you're playing on the road, it's nice to have a couple guys, because guys are going to match up. And if you got somebody that can make someone that they're going to try to match up against a little, you're not making Shen uncomfortable, but you may drag him into the fight where that's a good swap if you both go off the ice.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, take him with you.
What do you think about Robert Thomas?
Oh, to me, Thomas and Kyrou are their two guys.
Yeah.
So, skill, goal scoring, that's what they lean on.
Question for you, because this is interesting. Lane is in the chat right now. And, Luddy, you were saying that something smelled funny about the timing of the Bischel call-up and all this going on, and just sort of...
What it says, it wasn't funny. It's just the test.
Fishy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is there something there?
Yeah.
Is there a trade on the way? Well, Lane put in the chat, is Nils on the trading block maybe?
No.
Is there any reason you hold him out? Because maybe everybody's saying, a lot of fans are saying we want to move Dumba. In fact, Lane said hopefully we can have Foxa and bring him back with us and leave Dumba in St. Louis, which is funny, but patently it's not going to happen. And maybe if you feel, and I don't think Jim Nils ready to give up on Nils Lundqvist. If anything, Nils has had a good year so far.
Yeah.
But if they think that size is something that they desire on the right side, and they think that maybe Dumba is okay as their third pairing guy and Lyubushkin's their second, and they can get another guy, maybe Luds, maybe it's Bischel. Maybe that's it. I mean, he played last night. What did you think about Liam Bischel's first game back in the NHL against maybe the best team he's played so far?
He was just quietly good. I mean, not quiet isn't a bad word. I mean, he made the plays he's supposed to. He didn't stick out for any defensive lapses. He didn't lose any ice to anybody. He's always going to play strong in front. He lays one big hit there early in the game that kind of sets the tone for himself and the team. So, yeah, and could Nils, I think anybody can be on the block, but Nils has made progress this year. And if you have a team that you're looking for some offense, on the back end that can lead to a power play guy or just getting the puck up the ice and the steps that he's made to be good in his own zone, because we've seen, it seems like we would always trade guys to Pittsburgh or something like that, or trade guys away, and then we'd get them back 2 years later. It's like they developed them good. We want them back again. Yeah. And maybe that's happening with Neil. I mean, I know that the Rangers are out there. Didn't they sign Tony DeAngelo the other day? They're looking for some offense. Or was that the Islanders?
Yeah.
Sorry,
The Islanders.
Yep. So there's
that
teams,
sounded like desperation for a team.
I'm sure
they're
it
not
was.
happy with where they're at.
Well, yeah, of course. But
we've been talking about Brock Nelson because the vultures are circling the Islanders right now, just waiting for them to give up.
No,
I don't think
they're going to give up. I just don't think they have enough to get there. But it's not because they're giving up.
No, but what I mean by give up is accept defeat in the sense that, okay, we need, Lou Lamoriello, at some point they get close to the trade deadline, and maybe it's deadline day. Maybe it's not a moment before. He might go, boy, I still think we might be able to push into it, but it's going to be a climb. We should get something for it.
The thing for me with Nils, and I hope, again, they got to do what's best for the team. I hope that's not why. I feel bad for him not being in the lineup after the progress that he's made, what's happened to him last year in the playoffs, and then coming back, making the decision to come back here. We want you to be a part of the team. And then he has become a part of the team. I feel bad for Lundqvist. So I don't know what this is. But I do know they're very good at having, lines of communication are wide open. And so I would hope that, but again, this could just be because they're going on the road back to back, and it may get a little dirty in there tonight. And we want Smith up front, and we like Bichel in there, and we haven't seen much of that. He hasn't had to drop the gloves yet. And I don't think they really have anybody on this team that's going to happen with tonight, but it's nice to have his size there and his presence.
The defense is weird to me right now because you're kind of in that in between. Pete mentioned how he didn't really have a top 4.
Yeah.
Or 5 or 6.
That's
so.
Well, why don't we show the defense while you guys are debating this?
So
go ahead.
if we're talking about that, Bichel seems like he's going to be here. That's my opinion, and that's what I've heard from Pete. Pete just said again today at his pregame that Bichel is someone who will help us down the stretch if he keeps growing, and he's shown no signs.
Still an F.
Yeah,
but yes.
He showed no signs of not growing. He was playing in the final couple minutes of that game last night with a 1-goal lead against Vegas. So they obviously trust him and believe in him. So if that's a lock and he's in the playoffs, are you looking for someone to go right there on the top 4 in the second spot as a top 4, or are you saying Lyubushkin's there? Because in my opinion, he's there.
That's
he's
right. I'm glad you said that because I don't think Lyubushkin has done anything to take him out of the top 4, and he can also play up there with Miro if you want to slide Miro over at the top. Do you want a steady diet of Lyubushkin against the best players in the league going through the playoff? Probably not. You prefer he would fit in the top 4 well. I don't know if Bichel is ready. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if he's ready or not.
What if the Stars could go out? What if Jim Nill could go out and get you a second pairing right-sided defenseman, like in this group, but basically pushing Dumba to the bench or trading him if they had to, Lyubushkin to the third pairing, and so now you have Heiskanen, the mystery player, Lyubushkin down your right side.
Yeah.
Would you like that better than what it currently looks like?
I personally, yes.
Yeah. I mean, again, you're right. Lyubushkin's been great. He's been way better than even I anticipated. But if he's in your third pair instead of your second, that just means that your team is that much deeper, right?
Yeah. Here's a question for you, Luds or Owen. Lindell, Heiskanen, Harley, Lyubushkin, Bichel, Lundqvist. Can that team go to the Stanley Cup final?
As opposed to Dumba there?
As opposed to Dumba, or bringing in someone new, basically. Like, do they have it in the locker room right now as a 6?
Again, things are ramped up, and it gets a little more physical going through the playoffs, which is why I think, they're hoping that Bichel can be that guy. And if it's Lundqvist that's in and out, that's why I feel sorry for the guy, because he's done everything he can. Yeah. But he can't do anything about his size and his weight.
And you don't have to.
And how he battles in front. Right.
All 6 don't have to be big guys.
But we were talking about Lane Hudson a minute ago.
Yeah.
Nobody's complaining. I mean, I'm sure somebody's complaining about him being not very tall. But he's so offensively dynamic, and his skating is so good that people aren't saying, well, he can't play in the playoffs because he's not big enough.
Well, if you can't catch him.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Nils could help his case by putting some pucks in the net as well.
Well, isn't that what we need to see Nils do?
Yeah.
Is that you're not going to suddenly become 6'4"?
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to have the same skills as what we saw at Hudson so far.
No, he's not that
That's
level.
not. Yeah.
But he should be able to put in 8 goals and get 30 points. Right now he's not.
But he doesn't get any power play time, so he's not going to get the 30 points, I don't think. And I don't think he's playing
ahead. 5 points.
Yeah. Well, and again, he plays limited minutes. And
you know who has a lot of points right now? Wyatt Johnson. He's on
Nice
a point streak
segue.
that goes to 6 games now after last night's 2-assist
Did we
performance.
just shift gears right there?
It was a transition. It was
1
nice.
goal,
Well, that was
8 assists in
that
his
wasn't
last
seamless,
9
but
games.
okay.
My question to you is there any reason why he shouldn't be your number 1 center right now?
I think
We were just talking about this.
I think Rupe is your number 1 center. I think Hintz is more of a natural get the puck in the back of the net kind of guy.
Great goal last night.
I just think that he's your guy. If you need to flip-flop a couple of things, absolutely Wyatt can be there. Rupe's got a different gear that pushes people back. Not that Wyatt doesn't. Wyatt plays a little more east-west. And when you have a guy, and again, Rupe's got some size to him too. When he wants to go to the net, he's a little bit harder to handle than Wyatt for a defenseman, in my opinion. I just think Hintz is your number 1 defenseman, your number 1 centerman. And I think Wyatt is your 1B, if you want to put it that way. Wyatt's a utility
Are
night
they
for
keeping it
me.
like this right now because that line is going so well? And they don't
Yeah,
wanna
I
mess
can
with
see
it?
that. Well, the
But
other thing
there's
I was saying to Sam is maybe with Rupe playing down on that third line and he's not getting the same number of minutes you get on the top line, maybe he's still working through something. And they're let's just get him back in. Let's get him confident in whatever he kept him out. And, and then we can add it. And you know what? And I think you hope, and not that Hintz is that kind of guy, but you kind of want him to lean back, or you want him to walk in at the end of the first period and go, hey, I'm good to go. Like, you can give me my 18 minutes a night, or whatever it is.
Here's the thing, though, that I think is interesting. You mentioned minutes. He's playing just as many minutes.
Right. And that, yeah.
Which is why I think this system, you don't have to pick the one up there with Robertson and blank on the right wing. It doesn't have to be your number 1, right? Wyatt Johnson could be on that line. The way the Stars play, Duchesne, Wyatt, and Rope are all basically number 1 centers. They play 16, 17 minutes a night each.
Yeah. And the other thing that you do, and again, this is my old school mentality, is you put your lines together in pairs. And so you have the 2 guys that work well together. And then you have somebody that complements those 2 guys. You can do whatever those 2 don't. Maybe he's a corner guy, the net front guy, like a Jamie Benn is kind of that guy. So I think that both of those guys can play anywhere. Wyatt pushes people back east-west, and he gives defensemen fits because he can change direction so quick, where Hintz pushes people directly back with their speed. And with Hintz doing that, he opens up that blue line to the top of the circle area for a Robo kind of guy that comes in late and can get in there. Wyatt, right now, Robo's getting success because Wyatt's taking the puck to the net, and he's getting pucks on net, and he hangs around the front of the net, and Robo's coming in.
How about that
for the garbage.
little kick play to Robo? That's incredible.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's a really good problem to have when you can't figure out if Wyatt or Hintz should be your number 1 guy.
Yeah. I just like when they at least try it, because I think that locking Robo to Hintz and saying like wherever they're going, it's those 2 is a mistake, because they've had their issues this year.
And the other thing, Sam, I think it's that time of the year. I talk about the hump day time of the year where you go through all these things and you're going back in the room after games, you're writing it down. These 2 guys were great together.
This didn't work.
So when somebody gets dinged up, you're like, how do we do it? Or when something's not going well, what did we have that worked well? What combo worked well? And then you have that, in your diary or your Rolodex or whatever the hell you call it, in your phone, probably.
Whiteboard even?
The whiteboard.
Diary and Rolodex were the first 2 he gave.
All right, John, let's pivot to the Blues, because Jim Montgomery, no, not that one yet, if you would, the other one. Since Jim Montgomery was hired, it was a bit of a surprise because Drew Bannister was okay, but they were under 500. They've been a pretty good team. 14, 10, and 3, as you can see on the graphic. 14th point percentage, that's mid, but it's better than what they were doing. But look at the difference in goals for. They went from 28th in the league at a 2.3 goals per game to a 3.19. Their defense is stingy. Their power play is okay. Their penalty kill is horrendous. But, Luddy, I know you remember this. Buchnevich was on camera before the coaching change saying we can't score and we got to change something because we can't win if we can't score goals. They're scoring some goals now. Now, the other night, the last game they played against Vegas, which was on Thursday night, they did not create a lot of chances. They didn't have a lot of shots. Vegas controlled that game. Stars would love to do that again. But if Jim Montgomery has them continue to play this way, it's not a super sexy style, but they could make that wild card spot if they keep this trend going.
They're creating their offense off of their forecheck, and they're forechecking a certain way that they feel that they can get the puck stopped up. They keep the flow going one way, and what they do is they buy enough time that the far side winger isn't moving; he's standing still. And then they kind of take a third guy high that shuts him down. And so they're able to turn some pucks over. I don't know if they can do that against Dallas, but they're turning some pucks over in the offensive zone by the style or system that he's using in the offensive zone. I watched their game against Vegas this morning, about 5.
You let yourself wake up a little bit.
Yeah, well, and I see that PK where it's ranked at. This is where I think, unless he changes something for tonight's game, this is where Dallas can take advantage of their penalty kill tonight, because there are holes in the middle of that penalty kill unit. And Vegas was able to get so many shots and opportunities from that high slot, that bumper position, so to speak. So if they didn't tweak anything since then, which they haven't played since then, right? I don't think, no, because it was Vegas day off. So
yep.
Monty may have, these guys have a book on everybody, but if they don't tighten that up, Dallas should have a good night on special teams.
Let's take a look at their lines real quick. And Luds, you were talking about Braden Shen. And Sam, look at the bottom. It's our old friend Radek Faksa, who played 637 regular season games for the Stars. He was asked about playing them and said it helps that, one, he's played them already. Well, he didn't play them in the regular season, but he said playing in the preseason helps because he goes, to me, this is just another game. Is that true, or is he just trying to say that to the media?
I don't think it's true at all. I mean, this is I know he was bummed that he couldn't play that game when they came here because he had the kind of skate cut issue.
You can say it. He got it right in the groin.
Yeah, cut in the, as Lud said, right in the
one of them nuggets almost got clipped.
But this isn't like some people we've talked about recently where they come in and it's nice. They played a few games here. This is a guy who was drafted here, played here a long time,
won an AHL Calder Cup.
Huge part of their system in the AHL, huge part of their team for so long. He was the guy who stepped up a lot of times and had to play up above his caliber of skill because of where the Stars were when he first came into the league. He's such a good dude, such a good player, scored a huge goal for them in the Vegas series to finish that series off. This is a big deal. And as Lud said, there's some money probably on the table tonight.
When you look at that group, John, if you'd show their lineup again.
Yes, he does.
Sorry, I was waiting for you guys to acknowledge the...
I need a Miller Lite.
So I could do that. You want offense? There you go.
So Holloway's on a bit of a point streak. He's been good lately. He has 18 points in his last 14 games. He's on a 4-game assist streak right now.
He's a Badger.
Luds, Shen, 11 points in 12 games, 6 goals during that run. Kyrou, 10 points in his last 9. That's their offense. It's literally their top line.
And Thomas got 10 points in the last 10 games. Yep. But I will say, I looked at like just some numbers from this team. They are so middle of the road. I mean, 18th in this, 19th in that, 17th in this. They're just a middle of the road team. They're in the middle of the conference, with their team. That's what they are. The only thing that they're top 4 when it comes to rebound goals scored. So it tells me, and when you watch Kyrou play, Kyrou especially, and Shen, I mean, but they drive to the net. When they take shots, they follow them up and they go to the net. Thomas is a little bit different. He scores some nice goals. He scores from a distance, things like that. So I think the only place, in my opinion, that they can give Dallas some problems is their drive to the net, because it seems like they're hungry for them second opportunities laying around front.
Well, let's take a look at the defense. Obviously, we'll see Jordan Binnington, Cam Fowler now fully entrenched since being traded. Parayko, Broberg, there's our old friend Ryan Suter. Justin Falk had a tough night. He got bumped down to the third pairing here lately, but Jordan Binnington, guys, has had stellar numbers against Dallas, but not a lot of results. And I'll give you the numbers on that. 13 games against Dallas in the regular season. He has a .926 save percentage, but a 4-5-4 record. Is that more of his team in front of him?
Yeah.
You can't just nod. They can't hear you.
Yeah, they can.
Oh, they're looking.
Nobody's listening. Remember, right. Lud's figured it out today. Yeah, no, I think that he's been great, though. He's one of those guys that I did not think was going to have a sustained career after his kind of explosion that first couple of years. But he's proved me wrong, and he's been very good, and he's been a lot calmer the last couple of seasons where he's not losing his mind and getting ejected every game. So good for them. They have a goalie that's probably there for a long haul.
Remember when Army, you saw his interview, he was looking to bring in Broberg because they had their Ryan Suter. We don't need him playing that many minutes.
Yes.
In the top.
We don't need a 40-year-old playing.
He's still in the top pair with Broberg. Yeah, I mean the second pair.
Yeah.
And he's actually, those two guys, Broberg and Suter, are number 1 and 2 among defensemen with plus minus.
Of course.
So Suits just keeps on ticking along,
Just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Zach Bolduc will play tonight. John, flash the Blues forwards again, if you would, please. The youngster was healthy scratched the last 2 games, but not only is he coming in, and he's been scratched 3 of the last 5, but they're going to try him in a top 6 role. They are high on him. They say he's physical, but that he tails off in games, and that it's hard to keep the young guy's energy and consistency up at a certain level for an entire 60-minute game.
Should that be any news to us here? We've seen 4 young guys between Bork and Beck and, guys like that.
Bench.
So again, to be able to play at a certain pace and a certain level, and you want to put him up on the second line and see if he can sustain it a little bit better. And you're going to have, if you got Thomas playing in the middle and you're on that wing, you're going to have to go to some areas because he's a shooter and he's going to get some shots. And you may get an opportunity to get a couple ugly goals or something like that.
Sam, the Stars got to see a very good team last night in Vegas show a lot of heart and energy, even though it was the second night of a back-to-back. And we've seen some times where Dallas hasn't had a lot in the tank. Can they pull anything from the way that Vegas played last night and try to – look, they should be the better team, but they're not the rested team.
One thing that I liked about Vegas is they got that goal, and that gave them the momentum. We talk, it's such a cliche, but you get that goal to bring you just within 1 or closer, whatever the score is at the time, and it gives you that little bit of extra energy burst. So for Dallas, scoring first is going to be huge, like it always is in a back-to-back, but keeping it close. Don't let them do a Colorado and put up 2 in a row and in a 2-minute span and go down 2 goals. That's really where you're going to get in a lot of trouble. Keep it within a goal or with a lead, and I think they'll be fine.
I can't help. The whole time you were talking, I didn't even hear a word you said, to be totally honest with you.
Because I'm camouflaged.
But you know why? Is because, and you brought up Vegas in the game last night. I'm just being honest.
It's the standard. It's what it is.
I cannot stop seeing the save that Jake made with 20 seconds left.
Yeah. Which one? The first one or the second one?
Glove.
No, the one, the glove save.
Because he made one with
Okay, let me just talk about the one I want to talk about. Owen, shut up. So, and because I think it's a statement. I think it's going to be something that we're going to talk about at the right time of the year. You're going to look back to that last-ditch effort to make that particular save in game 45 or 48 or whatever this is, and it was like he said, "This is me. I'm here now. I don't quit on anything. I'm your backbone. I'm your Ed Belfour or Patrick Roy." I hope I'm right, but I don't know why, because he's made other big saves, but all day I keep on seeing it. And it's so no quit. And I give you everything that I have. And I'm hoping that we can look back and we can have this conversation again when they win the first round against whoever it may be, because he made maybe only 3 particular saves through the whole first round that got him to that, that 4th win in that first round.
And 64 in game 7.
It might end up being
that would be nice.
The NHL save of the year. And then he stopped Barbashev with 1/10 of a second left again on his side at the post. Either one of those goes in, go to overtime, who knows what happens. Maybe the Stars lose that one.
They do.
And they don't have the
Seen
same
it so
vibes.
many times.
Well, let's leave you with this. Court got in the chat and said, again, I say I will pay Jamie $5 to sit on Suter. Enjoy the game. We will watch it with you. We'll be here for the post game right afterwards. Here on DLS.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
We all silly like the mayor.